Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What's up, everybody? We're here on First Cut for a new review of the Barbie movie, the highly anticipated film that is currently the biggest movie of 2023 so far. So in terms of opening weekend. So we're super excited to talk about it, break it down. And of course, the lovely Sabrina Ramirez is here to talk about it with us. Sabrina, what are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, as y'all know, if you watched kind of like our summer blockbuster preview and overview looking back at some of the films that have already happened and what is to come, this was my number one most anticipated. I've actually been bothering Dorian about it for Geeks of Color for like years. Like I'm like, whenever this comes out, like I have to write my piece. And so hopefully
and they kicked me off the screening for that too.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, we were supposed to go together and there was a mix-up. But something that's really funny too that no one knows is that RB3 texted me and was like, hey, like, are you seeing it early? And I was like, oh, I'm trying to, like, whatever. And RB3's like, it doesn't feel right if I see it before you, which meant the world to me. So this is, Greta Gerwig's third solo directorial feature, starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, amongst honestly a plethora of incredible actors and actresses. Everyone put their all into this film, no matter how little screen time, how much time they had to kind of chew on. America Ferrera, oh my God, chef's kiss. This film to me was a 10 out of 10. I think this is probably, I've seen it twice by this point. This is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I feel like I'm going to go back just like Greta Gerwig's other work and really revisit this one, always find something new to chew on when it comes to the details and things like that. It was profound. I cried. I laughed my ass off. It was definitely the most lively press screening I've ever been to. Usually a lot of those, like, people laugh at some jokes and things like that, but we're there for business. But not with Barbie. Everyone was so excited. And each time that I saw this film, I left the theater just a new woman. I'm like, there's before Barbie and then there's after Barbie.
Yeah, no, Greta Gerwig is a master at her craft. And it's so funny you're saying you're giving this movie a 10 out of 10. It just gave me a flashback to when me and Andres first saw and did our review for Lady Bird. And we saw it together and both came out the theater saying it was a 10 out of 10 in our review. So it's just like a full circle, doing Greta Gerwig is just great at writing and directing. And obviously it was co-written by Noah Baumbach, who's her husband. And let's talk about for one, obviously Barbie's the main star of this movie, played by Margot Robbie. She produced the film as well. This movie took an unexpected turn with Ken. Like, I did not expect Ryan Gosling. I thought he was mainly just going to be like the side piece all throughout it, but no, he kind of ends up being more of like a villain kind of situation as the film kind of progresses. So what were your thoughts on how this movie approached the gender war per se, like the way they handled it in this movie?
Yeah, I think Greta Gerwig working with Noah, both of them are super funny. And I feel like people kind of forget about that. They're like the king and queen of mumblecore. So I think both of their touches on this film were able to bring so many different perspectives. And I think we get that idea of, in society, when a certain group of people are placed kind of in the background where they're not seen as they're kind of seen as second-class citizens. We see the pursuit of getting to the point of equality and what that takes. And now, as Ken goes in the real world, of course, Century City, which I just found to be absolutely hilarious. And he sees like the horses, he sees men in suits, he sees that like
Bill
men
Clinton
are kind of running the real world. I think that parallel between Barbie land and the real world is really interesting because, throughout the film, Barbie, at the beginning, Barbie's like, oh, this world is perfect. Like, I wouldn't change this world for a thing. But the reason why she feels that way is because she's on top. We have like the weird Barbies, like the lesser wanted Barbies that are pushed into the background. Midge, I know she's mentioned only a few times kind of in the background, Emerald Fennell. And then, of course, the Kens. So the same thing there where there isn't equality and life isn't as perfect. It just is for someone like Barbie because she is a 10 out of 10. She is stunning. She's celebrated. She's beloved. So I think that's the interesting part, how the real world and Barbie Land kind of parallels. And it's addressed by Issa Rae at the end of the film, where they're like, okay, well, we could go back to normal, like how things were. And she's like, no, we don't want to go back to the way things were. We actually want to make change for the good. So it's cool to see where they go in the film and how far they'll continue to move forward in Barbie Land. And it gives me hope for our world.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, it's funny. When first coming out this film, the first thing I thought about was Black Panther, in terms of how the Wakanda and Barbie, like Barbie Land is basically like Wakanda for women, you know, essentially, like it's just like a self-isolated universe where women are on top. And it's so, I appreciated that. I appreciated, for one, the look of Barbie Land, the aesthetics, the pink. Obviously, there was an international shortage of pink all around the world because of this film. And I think they, if I'm not mistaken, I think a lot of these locations were filmed inside of a studio, inside of Pinewood Studios in London. But the sets were like painted backgrounds and like kind of artificial, but not necessarily green screen or CGI, which I definitely could tell, and I appreciate it. Like I like the fact that everything felt plastic and practical and really real, and I think that added a really nice visual look to it. There's a couple times when they have those like beach off moments where Ryan Gosling and Simu were like kind of like riff on each other, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then it culminates into some of the most amazing, both kind of fight, you know, / dance sequences I've ever seen in a movie. It's so funny and it's so wild, and which is contrast to the opening dance sequence at Barbie's house, where it's like everybody, all the ladies are just grooving and having fun. It's like when men get to fight and it's like purely for the struggle. So I just like seeing this new world and this new society that was created inside of this movie.
Definitely. I love that you mentioned kind of like the production design and the cinematography that went into bringing this world to life for us on screen. I think it genuinely looks like you just opened up a Barbie dream house. Like, you created your own little town. When she opens up her fridge and there's like a milk, like an actual milk that you can pick up, but then the other side is all decal. It's like, that's how it is when you open up a fridge. Most of it is so artificial, and then some of it you can actually move around and take out. So it really is the little things. And I think Greta Gerwig and the whole team on this film coming together to put that masterful touch, make sure those little details are in there. It's very much appreciated as somebody who grew up with Barbie. But yeah, I mean, how deep they went into all of this when it comes to the idea of like capitalism, Mattel, when we're dealing with Mattel in this film, and it's just a group of like stuffy men that all kind of like, none of them have their own personalities. They're all repeating the same words to each other. They're all doing this, but then you have a receptionist, America Ferrera's character, Gloria, and she is more equipped and capable than any of these men will ever be. Yet she is in that position and they are where they are. And it kind of goes to show, even with a film like this, honestly, you think about it and it's like, Warner Brothers, this big major studio, all of the people behind this film that are like, yeah, this is good, this will sell, because we know this Barbie film, how it came to be, is such an interesting story. And I honestly don't even remember all the details, but like, there was originally a film that was supposed to feature Amy Schumer, and then I think Anne Hathaway at some point, and then Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie came on. So the movie that we were going to get was probably going to be a little bit more corporate, a little bit more like, yes, this is a product and we're selling this product in a film, which is what we get a lot with, Transformers is good, especially this last film, but these are a film about toys, which this film is challenging all those ideas rather than leaning into it and telling the story of like a Barbie in her Barbie world. It's a fish out of water story. And I think it adds so much weight and depth to it, especially considering like, this scene in the film got to me, and I kind of want to hear your perspective on it too. It's so small, but she is sitting there at the bus stop. She's trying to channel whoever's playing with her so she can locate them, and she sees an older woman. And to our knowledge, we have no idea if Barbie has ever seen an older woman, and we assume probably not. And she turns to her and she says, "You are so beautiful." And that little moment right there, what our society perceives as some of the biggest flaws. I know there's a new TikTok filter that's come out that shows everybody how they look old and people are freaking out and they're like, oh, I have to go get Botox. I have to go use retinol. I just stumbled across like a day ago, a 14-year-old girl on TikTok who was like, yeah, I started using retinol at the age of 12. And I'm like, because it's like creams for your face. I don't even use that. When I was 14 or 12 or whatever, I was worried about like Tumblr, watching movies, getting Pierce the Veil tickets, like all those kinds of things. I was not worried about aging, but I think in the age of the Instagram face and TikTok and all of this, like we are just so aware of the way people perceive us. So someone like Barbie is also like that because that's what they are. Greta Gerwig challenging what a feminist symbol kind of is, whether it is or not. It's kind of subjective. It's up to the person to decide. And she gives reasons as to why Barbie is a feminist symbol and how she isn't. But that moment with the woman just really, really got to me the first time I watched the film. And I just keep thinking about that scene.
Yeah, that was a beautiful scene. And I, like you said, it plays to both Barbie as a character, because Barbie as a character and as an icon, it's so funny. This movie kind of disses Mattel, but also honors Mattel in really both ways. And I think that shows that the character of Barbie and the icon of Barbie, the idea of Barbie, is that everybody's supposed to feel beautiful. And that's what America Ferrera expresses, that she feels lost. She loses that later on down the line. I'm not going to go too far into spoilers and things of that nature, but, yeah, it's supposed to be, Barbie is supposed to be a symbol. All the way down to that opening scene where the little girls are playing with the baby dolls, and then it's the homage of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah. It kind of, they talk about that whole idea of like Barbie is supposed to be a symbol for everybody to feel beautiful, no matter what job you are and things of that nature. So her talking to that old lady felt really good, a really good representation of that. And it was also, I was reminiscent of like Forrest Gump too as well, which this movie has so many movie references, so many jokes, that it was almost like across the Spider-Verse level of like, if you blink for 2 seconds, you're going to miss a really funny visual joke. For me personally, my favorite joke was when Ken was in Century City and he goes up the escalator and the first thing he sees is like an image of Bill Clinton and it's like talking about patriarchy. I'm like, yo, this is the perfect example of like real world like funniness, but implemented into this satirical thing. It was dope. And then, but of course, like, I also think like it was such a liberating story to not make this about a romance between Barbie and Ken as well. I think it was really beautifully done. How I think in a lesser, you talked about the other versions of this film. I think in a lesser done movie, or with a not as a great writer director as Greta Gerwig, it would have dissolved into some romance, or would have dissolved into something kind of whatever. But I love that women and femininity and feminism was the core theme of this movie, all the way down into, there's a beautiful montage at the end with the Billie Eilish song that comes in. It's one of the most, for me, me and my girlfriend went to see it yesterday, and we were having drinks, like having fun, talking before the movie. And she was like, oh, I never seen a Greta Gerwig movie. Is she like an emotional director? Is she going to pull our heartstrings? I'm like, yeah, she is, but it's Barbie. How deep can it really get? And then like literally watching that scene, there's two dudes sitting next to me that were literally wiping tears like when that during that part was on. So it was moving. It was definitely moving and efficient, and everything that built up to it. Like you said, her conversation with that old lady, that conversation with another key character. I don't want to get into spoilers about another
Honestly,
character.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Get into it. Yeah. I love how they, again, another way they honor Mattel is incorporating the roof handler. As a character, who's the creator of Barbie. It was so funny. That was such a funny way. When they first introduced that scene, I'm like, oh, is this, because they said roof. I kind of knew a little bit of the history. I'm like, is that just going to be it? But I love the fact that it was kind of like a talking to God moment at the end of at the film. They're just like in this white void, and then she's like literally talking to her creator, like, what should I do? It was dope. I thought that was really dope as well. So
Yeah, honestly, having Ruth Handler as a character, having her ghost or God, because that's like what she is to Barbie. She's her creator, and Barbie kind of looks to her when she's confused about stuff. She's like, where do I belong? I think that montage, I literally had chills when you were talking about it. I love it so much. It kind of goes to show because honestly, even after the Venice Beach scene, which of course Barbie is sexualized in our world, she has like complete it's so far from her expectations of what the real world was like, because like the Barbies think it's this like wonderful place, and it is and isn't. And I think when she is also sitting in the park bench and she's kind of like aware of everybody around her, she's aware of like a couple arguing, kids playing in the park, different things like that. She sees the little different pockets of this world that do make it so special. And that montage just reminded me of like all the women in my life, all the women I'm so grateful for who have shaped me, and like how happy I am to be living in this world with them. So I think ultimately the conversation with Ruth and Barbie at the end, it just shows that Barbie is ready to jump into a world that she feels like she belongs in a little bit more, and she's ready to welcome potential pain or heartache and also the joy and happiness that comes with this world. And I just think Greta Gerwig has the most fantastic ability to make us feel so warm at the same time of just like so deep. I came out of this so happy, as much as it tugged on my heartstrings and everything. I felt like I was just seeing everything a little bit differently. It made me so much more appreciative of every single thing that I have, because as bad as the hard times are, it's like when you do experience all the good ones too, it's so special. And it's better to feel all of this, even if some of it is not so great, than feel nothing at all and kind of live in this fantasy world where, you know, she's talking to all the Barbies and she's like, today's the best day ever and tomorrow's the best day ever and yesterday was amazing and it's just going to continue to be the best day ever. So yeah, it was superficial in Barbie land, literally and figuratively, like metaphorically. But I think all of the steps that each of them took, Ken's cementing their place, getting up there, weird Barbie being included within the other Barbies. I think those are all wonderful steps that, you know, we should do a little bit more of in our society, because we place these ideals on women at the point where they're so young. We see a character like Sasha, which I definitely want to talk about Sasha and Gloria a bit. But we see her and she's really young and she's kind of jaded. She's calling Barbie like a bimbo, and honestly, yeah, fascist. That was a little far, but like I understand where she's coming from, because when you do have this perfect thing and you wake up and you get older and you're able to kind of analyze everything around you, it's like, why would I want to be this person? She just has a tiny waist. She's super tall, long legs, and I could never be that, so I don't want to compare myself. But at the same time, when we do dive deeper and we are able to see, especially when Barbie was first introduced, which was in like the late 50s, that was a time where women couldn't have their own bank accounts. Women couldn't do a lot of different things. And so to see that time and now how far we have come, and again, how far we can still go, just like Barbie Land, I just think was wonderful. And the mother-daughter aspect of Sasha and Gloria, America Ferrera still holding on to her girlhood, holding on to that Barbie, even though her daughter didn't want to own it anymore because she's too cool for it. I remember that teenage angst. I get it. I was there.
Yeah, and it's good. I love how there's a lot of films that these days play on nostalgia and play on, you know, particularly men holding on to their toys and, you know, still holding on to their childhood. This is the first time I feel like I've really seen it from a you know, woman's perspective. You know, the main other idea, you know, the main other one is obviously Lego Movie, but that's again a boy. That's a little boy. This was or of course life size with Tyra Banks, the Disney Channel classic original. That's the only other time that was like kind of it's a similar kind of concept a little bit too. Not exactly similar, but like the idea of Barbie coming to life. But but I did enjoy seeing, for one, Gloria. For one, America Ferrera, she has such a good understated performance all the way throughout, because she definitely full sell still believes in Barbie. She still like wants to be on her side. She's like hilarious, but also she has that fantastic monologue about the plights of being a woman in society, and you know how everybody's expectations of you. And that monologue was so good. Barbie was straight up like, yo, just tell that to everybody. Like, get her out. Right. Repeat that to everybody. And then that just ended up becoming like a thing, which I thought was such a funny, you know, I think that just goes to show you like like what a good leader is, like why she should be running. If you ask me, instead of Will Ferrell and these gaggle of goons running Mattel, it really should have been somebody like America Ferrera. At least having a seat at the table after they realized it's time for change, it's time for things. Yeah, where Barbie was on the council. I think Midge was at the end, like there, but I'm not sure either.
They kind of still ignored her a little bit, or at least Will Ferrell's character did.
Right, that was crazy.
He was like, oh, hey,
Felt me discontented.
That was funny. That was one of my, for one, so many funny moments. That was one of my favorite funny moments. Again, talking about that scene where America Ferrera has that monologue. Right before that monologue, Margot Robbie's really great throughout the film. She's very emotional. She does a lot. But she's given that one scene where she's crying about not being pretty, and then Helen Mirren comes in with the narration like, "Note to studio: Margot Robbie making this point is not the best idea."
Yeah,
I thought that was so good. Yeah,
yeah, and it's that self-awareness that was in the film that really just shines through. A moment like that, or the countless others, and it was just joke on joke on joke, but not for just the sake of like a cheap laugh. It's like all of that really tied into the plot and like furthering that for us. And then going back to Gloria, what you said, it's like Gloria was holding on to her girlhood. She was still looking to Barbie to say like, oh, you can save me from my life. Like I feel a certain way, but it ends up being her who saves Barbie and Barbie Land. Without her and Sasha spearheading everything, they wouldn't have made any of the changes. They wouldn't have gotten Barbie Land back from being Kendom, and other things like that. So that's why it's like these symbols can mean something to us and they can inspire us, but at the same time, it's the real women in our lives and what they bring into them that ultimately change everything. So when Barbie does kind of have her moment of like, oh no, like I failed, she's laying there like plastic stiff, which is just so good, all the little details. But yeah, she gives up and Gloria's upset. Gloria's like, how could you in this time? And even Barbie just seems so unconfident where she's like, yeah, we'll have kind of one of the like smarter Barbies take this on. But she really finds her humanity at the end of the film. Even her conversation with Ken of saying like, you are enough on your own and you don't need me to live. You don't need to live your life for me. And I know we've talked about Ryan Gosling a little bit throughout this conversation, but holy shit, he put his all into this film. I think he's like, this is one of my favorite performances of the last like 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe all time. Only time will tell where it lands, but I just know that he was the perfect Ken. Margot was the perfect Barbie. America Ferrera and her daughter in the film, like every single casting across the board was absolutely incredible. But yeah, it means a lot where she says like, you don't have to be and Ken, like you can just literally be Ken. And then he has the shirt that like says I am Knuff, and it's like they don't have to fight each other. They can all have a seat at the table like you mentioned, and that's the best way society will prosper because nobody is fighting for that lone seat. They can all be there together.
Yeah, no, that was hilarious. Yeah, that for one, the I'm Knuff is absolutely funny and hysterical. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That was I love that message that like, yeah, everybody can be together. Everybody can be their own person, their own individuality. You know, Barbie's usually constrained to a particular career, like President Barbie, Nurse Barbie, things of that nature. But you know, it's good to see people just step outside of themselves too and be like their individual self. So I think that was what like you said, that was the theme that the movie was going for. And yeah, the Knuff was hilarious. I want that sweater. I want the oh man, when you mentioned Gosling, like when him and Simu were going at each other singing that Push song, and
oh my god,
yeah, and then to me the funniest part is like it's that thing in like action movies where two dudes fight each other, but like after they beat each other up, they become friends. Like that was basically what happened here, but with dance? I'm like, yo, what? And they
get, like,
start
a
holding
hand in
hands and
hand.
singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yo, fam. I was dying. I was literally dying at that part. Like, that was so funny.
Oh my God, hilarious. The use of Matchbox 20 and all the guys singing at the women and the women using it to their advantage. It's like, hey, yo, if you're a woman out there, I know you have had a man pick up a guitar and sing at you, and you just have to sit there and you just have to endure. We've all been there. It was such a good, those little moments are like really special things that I feel like Greta puts into her films that are kind of universal. I feel like a lot of people have experienced that. So many themes and ideas in this film, no matter what character you kind of pay attention to, it's like you will find something in every single one. That's why I know Andres and I talked about Lady Bird and Little Women back in 2019 when Little Women was released.
Yeah.
On the meaning of. So if you guys want to go check that out, please do. I know there's definitely an updated conversation to be had at this point now that Barbie's been released. But like during that time, we were talking about her stories focus on women. But while doing so, it never alienates a single person. It never makes somebody feel like the butt of the joke or the bad guy, because everyone is just as guilty. They even talk about it in the film when Sasha says, like, men hate women, women hate women. It's what we can all agree upon. Every single person is being called out, all of our own biases, all of our own issues that we have. Like, no one comes out of it unscathed. So I think that's the thing I really appreciate, because it has us take another look. We're all kind of guilty of it, pointing out these glaring faults with Mattel, which I cannot believe they signed off on like the jokes that were in this film. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That last
but shout out to
line.
them for that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's just genuinely a joy. I am going to revisit this film whenever I want to experience feminine joy, whenever I feel like I'm kind of down and I'm just like wondering about my life or like my place in this world. Or just when I want to celebrate women, which is literally always. I came out of the theater and I was just like, I love women so damn much. Even before my press screening, I know this is like a small thing and maybe like men don't fully understand it, but when I was checking in for the press screening, the woman checking us in came up to me and she was like, oh my gosh, what lip products are you wearing? Like, what do you have going on here? And I was like, oh, I pulled them out of my purse, and she was sitting there taking pictures of it. So it's just like all these little joys we have in our life, something like that, like seeing somebody's lip gloss or lipstick and saying like, oh, I want to have that for myself too. And us sharing all of those things. And that goes back centuries, all the way back to like when makeup was invented and women were sharing their secrets together, not telling men, and men were unaware that women were just looking so glowing and beautiful and didn't know that they even had like makeup on or what the recipes were when they were creating it themselves. It's just happiness, just joy.
Yeah, no, it's pure joy, it's pure fun. I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. The number of jokes, like you said, for everybody, not just for women and for men. But also, like you said, as a man, it makes you appreciate the women in your life a lot more. And that's why I definitely got from it. Shout out my moms, my grandma, my cousins, my girlfriend, obviously. They're all, people who help influence me in most positive ways. So this movie definitely gave me I've always appreciated these. Obviously, you too, Sabrina, of course. Like, I've always appreciated every woman in my life, but this movie definitely inspired me. It was, obviously, I always want to show appreciation, but double appreciation after watching Barbie. So, but yeah, it was dope. Funny enough, when I saw it, there was a lot of like teenage guys just in there by themselves too, trying to like slide at the women coming to see Barbie. So I could see, and those movies definitely appealing to all crowds. They didn't react to the Zack Snyder line the way I thought they would, though. They didn't like that line. They're like, oh no, boo! Like, oh my god. Y'all in the wrong crowd. Yeah,
it's like it goes with what we were just saying, where there's like everyone is the butt of the joke, but because we all are, it's like you there's not really a place to be offended because it's all, there's truth to all of this,
Yes.
and it is real.
Yeah.
That is too good. Yeah, and The Godfather, like I love The Godfather, but that joke of like, oh, you're watching The Godfather, please explain it to me in detail, and they all fall for it, and so they're using all these tactics against the men. Oh my gosh, I can talk about this movie genuinely for like 5 hours.
Yeah, no, me too. It's so good, so good. The obsession with, like you said, the obsession with horses just makes me laugh every time. Yeah, he's like, the horses are just an extension of men. So many good jokes.
Yeah.
But so if you haven't checked, you know, if you're watching this review, you should have already seen Barbie because we spoiled the heck out of it. But if you haven't already, go check it out. And if you want to see it again, check it out again and let us know what you think in the comments down below. I'm definitely going to be watching it a second time as well. But yeah, thank you again, Sabrina, for talking Barbie with us, giving us your thoughts and your perspective. Where can people find you? Or if you had any last thoughts, my bad. I didn't mean.
Honestly, we have, because again, like I said, I could talk about this for 5 hours. So if you want to get my final thoughts, we'd be sitting here all night.
Right.
So just overall, yes, seconding everything RB3 just said. Definitely check it out. Definitely let us know what you think. I know, you know, it's got that A cinema score. It's got that high Rotten Tomatoes, high box office. I think one more thing to note is just the fact that, you know, this shows like when you have a solid film, no matter if it's like based off of a doll or whatever it is, whether it's original or based off of something like this, it's like when you bring it to life with original complex ideas and you allow your audience to kind of form their own subjective opinions on all these different details without ever having a clear-cut answer on what's right or wrong. It's like when you have something like this, people will listen. People will want to open up these conversations. It's like none of these ideas that were brought up are new to film or new to our conversations in life and things like that. These are definitely hot topics, but they're not new. I think, and it doesn't even dive into them so deeply. It's like, it's the perfect amount in this film for young women to watch this and want to open up those conversations even more, have a better understanding, especially in the age of like the Ben Shapiros and the Andrew Tates, and like I said, all the social media platforms that are putting kind of pressure on women and different things like that, and men as well, honestly. I think working together, we are all better. And that's the way it should be. It's never a war, one versus the other. But yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Sabrina on Film and Instagram. On TikTok as well at Sabrina on Film, and then Instagram at Sabrina X Monica.
Thank you. Yeah, that was beautifully put, Sabrina. Beautifully put. No, that was great. And yeah, if you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Director RB3, you can follow us at First Cut on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at First Cut TMO. And yeah, definitely be sure to leave a comment if you like the Barbie movie, if you enjoyed, you know, Greta Gerwig's filmography, and even you know, if you have a favorite Greta Gerwig film out of her filmography. I personally don't even know how to rank these movies. They're all three great movies. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And if you did the Barbieheimer double feature, let us know that in the comments down below as well. For that, y'all, this is RB3.
I'm Sabrina.
And we are peacing out. Peace out, y'all.
It's either me or you. It's either